Welcome to Whispers of Resilience, our MS Stories podcast, where Justine Martin, the Queen of Resilience, sits down with each incredible author featured in this highly anticipated anthology. In this captivating series, we delve into the depths of each author's chapter, exploring the hows and whys behind their desire to share their experiences with multiple sclerosis. Prepare to be inspired as these courageous souls recount their triumphs, their challenges, and the resilience that fuels their spirits.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Whispers of Resilience, our MS Stories. Today I'm interviewing one of our great authors, Leanne. How are you, Leanne?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Thanks, Justine.
You're welcome. So, Leanne, why did you want to contribute into the book?
I suppose it was something that came inside of me that wanted to be able to communicate, I suppose, to the newly diagnosed and also to those people that have been diagnosed for some time, a reflection that I had about my diagnosis, my D-Day, the day that I was diagnosed, and what it was like going into the neurologist office, having my family around me, and also about how it was really important to me at that stage to pretend, or not pretend, but to show my friends that I was normal, that I was still me, but with a diagnosis of MS.
Because that's the thing, isn't it, that we are still us despite it. MS is just a small part of us, although
right.
It can take up a lot of our life.
That's right.
Yeah.
So my friends knew that I was going through the journey of getting diagnosed with something, but they didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. The first thing I thought of was, oh my gosh, have I got a brain tumor? Is that going to suddenly be the detrimental end of my life? Is it going to be the end of my life? And while I've written it from a point of view of having 20 years experience, and I could talk about a lot of different things in the book, I really wanted to just touch on what was my day of diagnosis like for me. And it was a real cathartic kind of experience, I suppose, of being able to...
authors that said that it's been cathartic.
To dig up the memories, to really, to not dwell on it, but just, it is what it is.
Just reflect back on,
that's right,
on what has happened as well. And, this is going into print, so we no longer have to carry it around in our heads either.
That's right, that's right.
So a lot of the authors have said to me, they feel lighter because they've written this.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be stored in your memories now because it's on paper.
No, exactly. So a lot of people have sort of asked me, well, what was your day like? What was the initial symptoms? What was going through your brain? What was happening beforehand? What was happening on the day of your appointment? And I had some feedback from my mum saying, you remembered that really well.
Which that's good. So your mum's read the chapter?
Yeah, my mum has read the chapter, and she said, yep, that's how I remembered it as well, and that you were able to convey that day really well. I suppose also I've written about my decision to start using mobility aids because that was where I sort of had to think about how I was going to approach that. I didn't want to say, I hit this stage in my disability and then I was suddenly given this mobility aid. It's more come from a decision that was in my hands, and yes, I was going to then start using certain things, but I really had to get my head around what the use of it was for. What is it actually for?
To give you back independence.
That's right. That's right. That's
Although
right.
you feel like your independence has been taken away when you've got to use a stick or a walking frame or wheelchair or scooter or whatever it is, it's actually opening your world up.
That's right. That's right. So it just actually and I've written, I suppose, about how I approach that, and I wanted to really educate myself not on mobility aids as such, but who else was using them that I could look up to
Yep.
and make them, I don't know, cool or
Yeah.
less disability friendly,
Mm.
less, disability specific, but just
Yeah.
that, no, I'm actually empowering myself to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Now, was there something in your chapter that you ran out of word space that you wanted to put in?
Um, Look, there would be a lot more that I could talk about,
Yep.
but I just
Enough
didn't
for a
have
whole book, Leanne.
that would be another book, another chapter, I think.
And that's
And
what a lot of the other authors are doing is um, they've got a taste for writing now and they've been told that they should write their stories. And so they've gone along with Morpheus Writing Group now and we're catching up bi-monthly and in a community
yep,
setting. And they get 4 half-hour one-on-one sessions with yours truly
yes,
throughout the month. And they're going ahead and writing their memoirs. So next year we'll have quite a few memoirs that have come out from this writing
and
project.
that's fantastic. I mean, I think that this has been a great opportunity for me to start my
Yep.
writing journey because I've never really written before, except for when I was at high school.
Yep.
But I've never really written about myself at all. So, and I think just also at the moment, where I'm at in terms of my stage of life, I don't really
Yep.
have that opportunity to do that. I'm still kind of in rehab and getting out soon, thankfully. But yeah, I don't have that sort of opportunity to be able to do that. I mean, it was kind of difficult as it was to be able to find the time to write.
Let's talk about that because when you signed up into the book, you were at home, weren't you?
Yes,
And then you got COVID.
yes,
Yep, in the middle of all of this, in
that's
writing your
right.
chapter. And then from having COVID, that brought on a major relapse. Is that
Yes,
correct? And you ended up in hospital in the COVID ward for a good couple of weeks
yep,
from memory. And then you got transferred to rehab and we kept in contact. And I know you were very, passionate about finishing your chapter and wanting to do it. And we extended the time period of when it had to be in
yes,
and everything for you. And you've done such an amazing job, Leanne, with the adversities that you've faced since this project started in completing your chapter
yeah.
and getting it in there. And even just so for those that can't see, Leanne's actually sitting in rehab at the moment. You haven't been at home in how long now?
Oh, 3.5 months,
Yeah. So it's
which
been a
is a
long.
long time
Is this
with
the longest
family.
you've been in care?
Yes,
Yeah. So that in itself, pat yourself on the back because that can't
mm,
be easy at all.
I know,
Um, and look what you've achieved, but
I know. It's
you
amazing.
are a published author.
That's right. That's right. And look, a lot of people sort of say to me, how have you been able to keep sane during this time? And the nurses are like, this is unbelievable that you've been able to write a chapter. You've been completing, your paintings and doing your art and things like that, as well as doing therapy. And
Yeah.
I was
And that's
just really
exhausting.
motivated. I was just really motivated. I set myself goals and I said,
Yep.
right, I'm going to have these things done.
And you have.
And I have.
How much more time have you got in rehab?
Um, Looking at a departure date of 2nd of August. So we're
Oh,
just,
2 weeks.
yeah, so we're just waiting on either NDIS change of circumstances to kick in or there's better at home disability, which is another area of the hospital that actually picks up the funding for the support that I need, the extra equipment that I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, fingers crossed it all goes smoothly.
thank you. Thank
For
you.
you.
Yeah, I
If
know.
someone reading your chapter, what would you hope that they gain from it?
I've always said from it that I wanted to try and normalize any feelings that people might have that were reading it first off, and maybe the newly diagnosed. I just wanted to try and normalize the feelings of anxiousness, and it's okay to feel vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It's a normal feeling, and I acknowledged in that time that it was probably the start of my depression or anxiety in any of dealing with any of that, because what I was going through was grief
Yeah,
at the time.
that's
It
right.
was grief. It was loss of a life that was active. I was, going out with friends. I was doing
How
everything.
old were you, Leanne, when you were diagnosed?
28,
And what are you now?
48.
So 20 years. Yeah. Yeah. We've known each other for a while, haven't we?
We have.
It'll have to be 10 years.
Sorry?
It'll have to be 10 years.
Probably.
Do you remember how we met?
Yes.
Was it through the MSR show?
No, it was at the nerve centre in Blackburn. You were doing
Yeah.
you
Do
were
you remember
doing
what we were
a
both there
talk.
for?
No, can't
Was
remember.
I doing a talk?
Yes.
I've done a few talks there. But it'd have to be about 10 years ago.
It was
Yeah.
it was something to do with that. And I remember at that time that I was driving. I probably had my little scooter.
Yep.
with
Yeah,
me.
you did. Yeah, yeah, yep. Remember that.
So
Yeah.
That would have been probably partway through where I was still wanting to know different things about MS, and I went through a bit of a stage where I didn't want to read anything about it. I didn't want to, because they put the worst stories on about MS.
Dr. Google, there's been a theme throughout all these chapters as well. So you guys haven't read each other's chapters.
No.
I, however, have read them all several times. At least 3 times each chapter I've read. And there is a common theme, in particularly Don's chapter. He warns everyone to not go near Dr. Google when they're first diagnosed because they'll get the wrong information.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there's quite a few that have mentioned about Dr. Google, but, go on to MS Australia's website if you're in Australia or even overseas. They've got a really good information on there on MS. Buy this book, download it, get it on Kindle, buy it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble or resilienceMindset.com.au. You'll be able to purchase it through if you're sitting out there listening to us at the moment. And you'll see that we all have the common thread of having MS, but all our stories are so different. Our diagnosis stories, some are very similar, yet some are totally different. And how long we live with it prior to being diagnosed, what's happened since being diagnosed, whether we're remitting, relapsing, secondary progressive, primary progressive. In there, we've got such a range of people, whether we're male, female, whether we're in our 20s or whether we're in our 70s. We've got one author, she's in her mid-70s. So there's such a diverse, criteria of people in the book, which reflects what the community is all about as well.
That's right.
Talking to a few of the other authors that have done their chapters, and we were saying that, this book is a reference material for someone that's newly diagnosed or a carer or the general public, because most people know of MS. I mean, MS Australia, MS Plus, MS Limited, MS Society. over the years, MS readathon, Kiss Goodbye to MS, the World MS thing, everything. They've done a really good job in making people aware that there is MS. They now say that 1 in 5 people knows someone directly who has MS.
Wow.
But people don't know what MS is.
What it is.
What it does to our bodies. And this book definitely goes into explaining, and all differently in every chapter, on what it's done to our bodies and what medications that we're on and how we live in a day-to-day life with this incurable disease. So is there anything else you would like to say, Leanne, that we haven't covered?
No, I don't believe so. I think that part of what I really wanted to write or to give an angle of was the positive side. I didn't want to head down the depressing sort of side about what it can be like. And that was really important to me when I was
That must
writing.
be difficult for you, Leanne, considering, you were stuck in hospital having COVID and then at the rehabilitation centre to write positively.
It was. And look, it's not to say that I haven't had my meltdowns while I've been in both hospitals, but I think I've always thought, well, there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
From this. And there is an end date. There is an end outcome. There is something that I need to achieve to be able to get out of here and be successful. And that's what I want to do. And I've done it before. After a relapse, it doesn't change. Yes, it changes who you are, and I'm still getting used to the symptoms of MS, still after 20 years, it's still different every time. But what hasn't changed is the way that I approach it, knowing that, yes, it's going to be hard work to be able to get myself back. And will I get myself back? I don't know. Will I need therapy after the end of this? Probably. But at least...
They're not giving therapy at the moment, like counselling at the moment?
There is counselling I suppose, inside, but it is something that is now going to be part of my NDIS plan going forward, is counselling, because even when I was first diagnosed, there wasn't the offer of counselling.
I think counselling is vitally important all the way through the journey, because your body's constantly changing, your mind's constantly changing with it. We have good days, we have good days, average days, bad days, and really bloody bad days.
Yeah.
I think counselling is vitally important. I've been in counselling now for 12 years.
Yeah.
I've been going to the same person for 12 years. I could not imagine having to restart with someone else because she knows absolutely everything. And, when I walk in, she's like, "How are you today?" And I know that I can be 100% honest with her.
Yeah.
I don't have to say, "Oh, I'm fine. Oh, I'm okay. Yeah, okay, I'm good." I can just, have verbal diarrhea and let it all out to her. And, quite often there's tears when I'm there as well. But I know that I'm in a very safe and trusted environment.
Yep.
And I don't believe that it's my friends or family's responsibility to hear me with that, to hear that all the time. So, and there's some things I don't want them to know.
No.
As well, especially if they're giving me the shit.
Yeah. No, it's something that I'm, I suppose, passionate about, as that's going to be my next journey, is going to be really supporting me and supporting my family on the next journey that I have. This was one journey. And
it's one chapter in your life, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to need support from the fallout from this. And so is my family going to need support from the fallout from this.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm sort of preparing for or
And
putting in place now.
asking for help is a sign of strength, never a sign of weakness.
That's right.
And you cannot build resilience without asking for help and support.
That's right.
And not just physical help, but mental health.
And I've reached out to people while I've been here, and I've said, how do I do this? How do I approach my son about this? Or how do I approach my husband about this? Because I'm probably going to come back a different person than what I came in.
Yeah. And not always for the worst either. No. I mean, there'll be some positive things that you can take with you when you go back and that as well. And, you know, that comes back to the book. You know, when you get your hot little hands on that book, Leanne.
I know.
All right, and read through everyone's stories.
It's been a really wonderful journey for me. And I always think about each of these kind of episodes or experiences as being a journey. It's just another page in your book.
It is. Just another chapter.
Another chapter of life.
That's right. Well, Leanne, thank you so much for contributing to the book. It's been a pleasure having you part of the project and the writing group and everything. And well done you for pushing through all the adversity that you've faced. If you want to get a copy of Whispers of Resilience and you're out there listening at the moment, you can purchase it through resiliencemindset.com.au or on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the major online book platforms, as well as Kindle, and we are bringing out an Audible in the future as well for it. So thank you again for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you.
Thanks, Justine. It's been great.
You're welcome. And I hope this chapter ends a lot more smoothly than the way that it started. For you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, that's wonderful. Excellent.
Yeah. Anyway, everyone, until the next one, you all stay healthy.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Now, don't leave just yet. We're just going to wait.
Are you ready to be inspired? Get ready for the book that will touch your heart and ignite your spirit. Whispers of Resilience, Personal Stories of Living with MS is now available for purchase. Have you ever wanted to peek into the lives of individuals who have triumphed over adversity? Look no further. This highly anticipated anthology brings together a group of exceptionally talented authors, all living with multiple sclerosis, who share their personal journeys with unyielding honesty and vulnerability. At www.resiliencemindset.com.au, you can now secure your copy of this remarkable book that captures the essence of resilience, hope, and the power of the human spirit. Dive into the stories that will captivate your imagination and open your heart to the triumphs and challenges faced by these courageous individuals. With each turn of the page, you'll witness the unbreakable spirit of these authors, as they navigate the unpredictable terrain of MS. Their words will inspire you, uplift you, and remind you of the incredible strength that lies within. Visit www.resiliencemindset.com.au now and embark on a transformative journey through the pages of Whispers of Resilience. Get your copy today.